Chosen ones, there's something the universe is urgently waiting on you to do, and the clock is ticking. What if I told you that every tear you've ever shed in secret, every moment you've questioned your path, every sacrifice you've made in silence, all of it has been building toward one single act of obedience you must complete before the month ends? This isn't fear-mongering, it's spiritual alignment. You see, just like in the story of Elijah, not the prophet, but an ordinary man with an extraordinary calling, there are divine windows of time. Elijah wasn't anyone the world noticed, but heaven did. His heart was pure, but his fear was real. He fasted, he prayed, but he didn't move until that mysterious woman at the train station delivered a message that shook him to his soul. If you don't act this week, the angel assigned to your blessing will turn to the next soul. That wasn't just a coincidence, it was divine timing, a concept found in scripture, science, and even quantum theory, which states that particles respond when observed or acted upon. In other words, nothing changes until you do. So Elijah moved. He quit his draining job, applied to the school he was scared of, and mailed the book he'd been afraid to complete. And within weeks, doors opened. Unseen forces moved. His obedience triggered alignment. That's the power of responding to a spiritual deadline. Now, here's where it gets real. Chosen ones, you are Elijah. This month is not just another page in your calendar. This is your divine summons. The whispers you've been ignoring, the nudges you've been brushing off, they are instructions, specific ones. And if you don't act now, the opportunity may pass, not because you're cursed, but because divine timing waits for no one. Just like nature, God moves in seasons. Miss your planting season and you can't harvest. Ecclesiastes 3. 1 reminds us, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. You must know your season and, more importantly, honor it. As Rumi wisely said, what you seek is seeking you. But here's the hidden truth. It may be standing at the door, waiting for your yes before it enters. Your dream, your breakthrough, your answered prayer. It's not lost. It's simply paused, waiting for your agreement in action. This isn't the time to overthink, to fear, or to wait for the perfect conditions. Divine appointments are rarely convenient, but when honored, they are explosive. So whatever your spirit has been nudging you to do it now, asterisk, before the month ends, before the clock hits 0. Because destiny does not bend for delays. It moves with those who move in faith. Stay with me until the end of this video, because by the time you finish watching, you won't just be motivated, you'll be in motion. And motion, chosen one, is the birthplace of miracles. Point 1, reflect, don't react. Before the month slips through your fingers, chosen ones, pause. Not to panic, not to spiral, but to reflect deeply, intentionally, spiritually. We're in a time where distraction is marketed and busyness is celebrated, but you're not here to be swept along by the noise. You're here to recognize the divine patterning in your life, because the same cycles keep circling, not to punish you, but to reveal what's been buried in plain sight. The repeated relationships, the familiar pain, the financial droughts that come like clockwork, those aren't coincidences, that's spiritual feedback. See, God isn't random. The universe doesn't play dice. Everything is a coded message, a sacred whisper, and sometimes the whisper becomes a pattern, a loop. That one friend who drains your energy every month, that same emotional trigger you thought you healed, resurfaces when someone presses the right button. That opportunity you sabotage every time success knocks. These are not accidents, they're soul signals. Divine repetition is the language of redirection. You've been walking in faith, no doubt. You've been moving forward, praying hard and showing up. But faith without reflection can leave you spiritually burnt out. This is your checkpoint, your spiritual debrief. You don't grow just by doing, you grow by learning from what you're doing. That's why journaling right now isn't just therapeutic, it's prophetic. When you sit in stillness with your thoughts and say, God, show me what I've missed, you unlock heaven's highlighter. Suddenly you realize that person wasn't your partner, they were your mirror. That door didn't close to punish you, it shut because you were outgrowing the room. And let's talk about silence, because God speaks volumes in silence. When nothing is happening, everything is being revealed. If you've been praying for answers and hearing crickets, don't assume heaven forgot you. Stillness is not absence, it's precision. It's divine observation. You're being watched, tested, and refined. God wants to see if you'll act on wisdom instead of waiting for a wildfire to get your attention, because Earth Angel, if he has to shake your world to redirect your path every time, you're not walking in maturity. You're still reacting in fear. Fear is what makes you stay in places you've outgrown. It tells you that discomfort is safer than change, but reflection is the antidote. When you reflect, you reframe. When you reframe, you reclaim your authority. That's when you start living by revelation instead of repetition. That's when your spiritual GPS stops rerouting and finally directs you to the destiny you've been sensing but never stepping into. So don't wait for chaos to force your hand. Sit with God now. Ask the hard questions. Write down the uncomfortable answers. Is there a gift you're neglecting because you're scared to be seen? Is there a voice within that you keep muting because it doesn't sound like everyone else's? You were not born to echo the world. You were chosen to disrupt it. But how can you do that if you're too distracted to listen, too tired to hear the signal, too busy to be still and know? Listen, your divine assignment doesn't come gift-wrapped in comfort. It shows up in lessons, cycles, and quiet calls to obedience. The ones who change the world aren't the ones who waited until they felt ready. They're the ones who reflected, realigned, and responded. So this month, before it ends, do something different. Reflect not out of regret, but out of reverence. Out of respect for the calling over your life. Because if you don't course correct now, the storm will. And trust me, your destiny is too sacred to be delayed by your hesitation. Choose reflection, choose revelation, and above all, choose spiritual responsibility. You were chosen for more. Don't let this month pass without owning that. Point 2, close the loops. Energetically speaking, open loops are like apps running in the background of your spirit. You might not see them all the time, but they're eating up your divine bandwidth. For the chosen ones, this matters even more. Why? Because your energy is sacred currency. You're not here just to live. You're here to lead, to activate, to align. But how can you do that if you're spiritually lagging from too many unfinished downloads? That half-written book, the unsent text, the job application you abandoned halfway through, they all seem small. Yet energetically, they become portals through which your power seeps out slowly, silently, and steadily. This concept of open loops actually stems from neuroscience. The Zygarnik effect, discovered by Russian psychologist Bluma Zygarnik, reveals that our brains tend to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks more than completed ones. That's why you can forget a birthday party you fully planned and executed, but you'll constantly be haunted by that one thing you meant to do last month but didn't. It's not just in your mind, it's coded in your spirit. Your soul feels the weight of every promise you've made to yourself and broken. And that weight, it accumulates. It becomes spiritual clutter. And clutter, dear chosen ones, is a direct enemy of clarity. If your spiritual house is full of yesterday's bitterness, shame, fear, and half-hearted dreams, how can God or the universe source divine intelligence fill you up with new vision? You're already full, but of the wrong things. The heavens can't pour into a vessel stuffed with the leftovers of a past season. Miracles need room. Revelation requires readiness. Your destiny won't compete with your distractions. So before this month wraps itself in twilight, take a deep breath and ask yourself the real question. What am I still holding on to that expired seasons ago? Maybe it's a grudge dressed up as righteous anger. Maybe it's a goal that no longer reflects who you've become. Maybe it's a version of you that only exists to keep others comfortable. Whatever it is, acknowledge it, bless it, and release it. This is not about guilt or shame. This is about sacred inventory. You can't ascend with dead weight tied to your ankles. Think of nature. Trees don't apologize when they shed old leaves. Snakes don't beg for permission to outgrow old skin. The moon doesn't apologize for disappearing so it can be full again. So why should you feel guilty for letting go of what no longer serves your growth? Letting go is not failure. It's a declaration that you're ready for more. Energetic hygiene is just as important as physical hygiene for the chosen ones. You can sage your space all you want, but if your spirit is still clinging to clutter, you're just sweeping around a mess. This is why clarity hasn't come. This is why peace keeps slipping through your fingers. Your destiny is waiting to enter, but it won't step over the spiritual trash you're refusing to take out. And here's the truth. You are not meant to carry last season's burdens into next month's blessings. That's not how spiritual evolution works. You've graduated, the test is over. Why are you still hanging around the exam hall, rewriting answers? Close the loop, end the chapter, sweep your energetic house. Because what's coming next needs your full attention, your highest vibration, and your clearest heart. You're not just preparing for another month, you're preparing for divine alignment, and that requires space. Make it sacred. Make it intentional. Make it now. Point 3, activate the assignment. God didn't create you to blend into the background. He created you to build, to lead, to shake the ground a little. That stirring you feel deep inside, that whisper that keeps tugging at your heart when everything's quiet, that's not anxiety, that's not your imagination. That's your assignment. And chosen ones, that assignment is sacred. See, God didn't just hand you a comfort zone, He gave you a calling, a divine blueprint etched into your spirit long before you even arrived in this realm. And here's the truth, you already know what your next step is. You're not confused, you're just scared. That online course you keep bookmarking but never starting, that podcast idea you shelved because now's not the time, that non-profit vision, the one that wakes you up at 3 a.m. with ideas bursting out of you like fireworks, that's not random, that's not optional, that is your divine assignment. And what's powerful is that divine assignments don't come alone, they come with divine assistance. You don't have to know the full plan, you just have to move, because angels are not assigned to your emotions, they're dispatched by your faith. When you move in obedience, the heavens move with you. One obedient step from you activates spiritual resources you didn't even know were waiting. And no, it doesn't have to be grand, just start. Register for the class, write the first script, speak the idea out loud, that's the key. Here's a sacred truth. Your obedience is someone else's answered prayer. That's how important you are. When you delay your assignment, you delay someone else's deliverance. There's a mother out there whose hope is hanging by a thread, and your testimony could restore it. There's a teenager who feels unseen and unheard, and your YouTube video could show them they matter. There's a soul crying out in silence, and the nonprofit you're afraid to launch could be their miracle. We live in a world that trains us to wait until everything is perfect, but perfection is a myth. Obedience is the miracle. Look at Scripture. Moses stuttered. David was overlooked, Esther was scared, and yet God still used them powerfully because they stepped in faith. You don't need to feel ready, you just need to be willing. And chosen ones, when you step out in faith, you don't just walk into purpose, you step into power. God has already gone before you. He's cleared paths you haven't seen, stirred hearts you haven't met, and aligned doors that will swing open the moment you knock. Not because you're lucky, but because you're assigned, and assignments always attract provision. So don't lie to yourself. You already know. Stop scrolling, stop procrastinating, stop asking for another sign. That nudge you feel, that's your Creator saying, go now. No more delay, no more dimming your light to stay palatable. God doesn't anoint mediocrity, He anoints movement. You are not a mistake, you are not behind, you are not disqualified, you are called. So go ahead, activate, launch the channel, write the book, build the ministry, show up to the class. Don't wait for the crowd. Your calling isn't a popularity contest, it's a divine invitation. Accept it, step out, and watch what heaven does with one simple yes. Point 4, strengthen your spiritual armor. This world isn't neutral, chosen ones. And the sooner you understand that, the sharper your discernment becomes. You are not walking through a passive playground. You are navigating a spiritual battleground, whether you realize it or not. The moment you begin to awaken, to remember who you really are, the atmosphere around you starts to shift. Energies stir. Forces once comfortable in your ignorance begin to tremble at your clarity. You can't afford to move through life spiritually exposed, unguarded, or half awake anymore. Because while you were sleepwalking through survival mode, heaven was preparing you for revival mode. Let's get real for a second. Just like your physical body needs food, water, and sleep to survive, your spirit needs its own nourishment to thrive. And what's wild is most people go years feeding their ego and starving their soul. That's how you end up spiritually naked, vulnerable to every toxic vibe, every manipulative person, and every temptation masked as a blessing. But you're different. You're waking up. That alone puts a giant spiritual target on your back. But don't let that scare you, let it prepare you. The call is simple, armor up, not with fear, but with faith, not with panic, but with purpose. Fasting isn't just some outdated religious ritual, it's a sacred recalibration of focus. When you fast, you silence the noise of the flesh to amplify the whisper of the divine. Prayer? That's not begging a distant God. It's activating direct communication with Source. Meditation clears your mental clutter so you can hear divine instruction. Journaling turns your chaos into clarity. And speaking life, that's not just positive thinking, it's prophetic warfare. Your words create atmosphere, and every time you declare truth in a world addicted to lies, you reclaim your power. Here's the kicker. You are being watched. Not just by haters or ex-friends secretly hoping you'll fail, but by heaven, by ancestors who walked before you, by spiritual beings who recognize the light you carry even when you forget it. The question is, what are you wearing? Are you cloaked in spiritual authority, or are you naked in procrastination? Because procrastination isn't just laziness, it's the enemy's favorite delay tactic. If he can't destroy you, he'll distract you. If he can't defeat you, he'll delay you into self-sabotage. That's why every time you delay your purpose, you feed your opposition. And make no mistake, the next level of your life will come with next-level warfare. That promotion you want, that breakthrough you prayed for, that relationship you've been manifesting, they all come with a price, and the currency isn't comfort, it's commitment. But you weren't built to fold under pressure. You were built to finish the race with fire in your eyes and legacy on your back. The same spirit that raised mountains, parted seas, and silenced storms, that's the same spirit that lives in you. So no, you don't run from battle. You run toward it, dressed in power, armed with purpose. So what does that look like practically? It looks like waking up 30 minutes earlier to journal instead of doom scrolling. It means putting your phone on airplane mode and diving into prayer or scripture before the world steals your focus. It means fasting, not just from food, but from distractions, gossip, negativity, anything that dims your flame. It means surrounding yourself with people who pour into your purpose, not poke holes in your progress. Because this is bigger than you. Your awakening shakes generations. Your obedience opens gates. Your healing heals bloodlines. So no more playing small, no more hiding behind fear. The kingdom didn't assign you just to survive, it sent you to dominate, and domination starts with dedication. Armor up, chosen ones. Heaven's watching, the world's shifting. And your spirit's finally remembering. You weren't built to blend in with darkness. You were made to be the light. Now rise. Point 5, forgive before the deadline. Listen, chosen one, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. And I know that probably sounds like a quote you've scrolled past on social media a dozen times, but let's go deeper. Unforgiveness is not just emotional baggage, it's spiritual handcuffs. You walk around smiling, putting on a brave face, pretending you're fine, but your soul is sitting in solitary confinement, pacing the floor of a cell built by pain you never released. And the door, it doesn't open with revenge, it doesn't open with time, it opens with forgiveness. That's the invisible key. Science backs it up. Studies from Johns Hopkins Medicine show that forgiveness lowers blood pressure, reduces anxiety, and even boosts immune function. That's not just spiritual healing, that's biological freedom. Meanwhile, holding on to resentment floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol, which actually damages your heart and weakens your ability to think clearly. Imagine that every time you replay that betrayal in your mind, your body relives it like it's happening again. No wonder you feel stuck. You're living in the trauma's echo instead of stepping into your divine evolution. Chosen one. Before the month ends, I challenge you, write the letter, even if you never send it, because this isn't about them reading your words, it's about you releasing the poison. Put their name at the top, not because they deserve your energy, but because you deserve your peace. Write out the pain. Cry if you have to, cuss if you need to, but finish it, and when you're done, don't post it, burn it. Watch it turn to ash. That's what bitterness becomes when it's finally exposed to light. Dust, useless and forgotten. Say the prayer, even if your voice shakes. Forgiveness doesn't mean they were right. It doesn't excuse the betrayal, the abuse, the lies, or the abandonment. Forgiveness doesn't mean trust. It just means release. You're not letting them off the hook. You're letting yourself off their hook. Because here's the divine irony. You can't ask God for mercy with one hand while clenching your fist at someone else with the other. That's a spiritual contradiction. And sometimes the gate to your next blessing is guarded by a grudge you refuse to let go. You want your breakthrough, your promotion, your peace? Then let it go, let it flow. Holding on to what they did is like carrying old bricks into a brand new house. You keep wondering why your spirit feels cluttered, why joy slips through your fingers. It's because bitterness blocks the blessing. You're praying for rain, but the clouds can't move because unforgiveness weighs down your atmosphere. You are the chosen one. That means you were picked to rise above, not sink into cycles. That means your calling comes with a higher requirement, not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Powerful enough to transform wounds into wisdom, strong enough to say, I remember what you did, but I refuse to let it define me. The world tells you to clap back. Heaven tells you to release. So before this month closes its chapter, do this for your soul. Forgive, write the letter, say the prayer, burn the bitterness, clean your inner temple so when the next blessing arrives, and it will, you'll be light enough to carry it. Let it go, chosen one. Let it flow. Heaven has more for you than pain could ever promise. Point 6. Sow into your future. Plant something now so you're not starving later. It sounds simple, even obvious, but this is a spiritual law hidden in plain sight. Whether it's time, energy, wisdom, or money, whatever you sow today becomes the garden you'll walk through tomorrow. It's not just poetic, it's deeply practical and universal. Nature understands this. Farmers don't wait until they're starving to start planting. They till the soil, sow the seeds, and water them long before they ever see a sprout. Why? Because they expect a harvest, and that expectation moves them to action. The same principle applies to your life, chosen ones, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and purposefully. When you give your time to learn a new skill, you're planting. When you support a friend in their time of need, you're planting. When you tidy your space, organize your thoughts, practice meditation, or even rest strategically, you're preparing the soil of your life. It's all sowing, and just like a garden needs sunlight and patience, your destiny needs consistent effort and faith. The mistake many make is waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, or a sign so big it hits them like a billboard. But the truth is, the right time to plant is now, always now. Because every moment spent in hesitation is a harvest missed in the future. Let's talk science for a moment. The concept of delayed gratification has been heavily studied in psychology, especially through the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment. Children who were able to wait for a larger reward instead of grabbing the instant one often grew up to be more successful, healthier, and more stable emotionally. Why? Because they understood, even at a young age, the value of planting now and receiving later. Spiritually speaking, it's the same. Every seed of effort you invest builds neurological and energetic pathways that attract aligned outcomes. In quantum terms, you're shaping future possibilities by showing the universe where your energy flows. And where energy flows, reality grows. Giving or tithing isn't just about money either. It's about saying, I believe in a future worth preparing for. Supporting a cause reminds your soul that you're part of a larger purpose. Mentoring someone proves that you have something worth passing on. Even something as seemingly mundane as cleaning your space tells the universe, I'm clearing room for what's coming. It shifts your vibration from stagnant to ready, from passive to active. It shows your faith not through words, but through motion. Every act of planting is a whisper to the divine, I'm ready. I'm not just waiting for blessings to fall from the sky. I'm creating conditions for them to land. I'm preparing the runway for miracles, and the universe, being the great listener that it is, responds to that preparation with alignment. You start meeting the right people. Opportunities seem to coincidentally show up. Your energy field becomes magnetic because you're no longer operating from desperation but expectation. There's a difference. Desperation repels, expectation attracts. So what are you expecting? Because your actions will reveal it. If you expect struggle, you'll resist planting. You'll hoard your energy thinking there's not enough. If you expect overflow, you'll give freely, trusting that the harvest is coming. This isn't toxic positivity. This is energetic truth, and it's backed by every natural system around you. Nothing in nature receives without giving first. Chosen ones, this is your sign to start planting, even if it feels small, especially if it feels small. Because every mighty oak tree began with a seed that didn't look like much, but under the right conditions, it grew into a legacy. So take the leap. Invest in your future. Your harvest is counting on you. Point 7. Declare your yes out loud. Your words shape your world, chosen one. Don't forget that. Too many walk through life like whispers, uncertain, apologizing for their existence, hoping the world treats them better if they just stay quiet and good. But you were never built for silence. You were built to speak worlds into motion. And this month it won't just fade into the calendar, it will elevate you if you declare it boldly. The ancient scriptures, quantum physics, and neuroscience all agree on one powerful truth. Words create. Genesis tells us God spoke the world into existence. Let there be light, and there was. Fast forward thousands of years, and science now shows us how spoken affirmations reshape the brain's neural pathways, a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity. When you say, "I am ready, I am willing, I will obey," you're not just talking into the air. You're giving your brain instructions. You're telling your cells to line up. You're waking up something divine inside of you. Words are vibrational, they're energy, and energy never disappears, it transforms. This is why prayer, chants, mantras, and declarations are at the heart of almost every spiritual tradition. In Jewish mysticism, words are considered so sacred that God's name isn't even fully spoken. In Eastern traditions, mantras like Om are believed to vibrate at the frequency of the universe. Even science backs this. Dr. Masaru Emoto's water experiments proved that water molecules responded to spoken words. Love, creating beautiful crystals; hate, creating chaos. If water can hear you, chosen one, don't you dare think heaven isn't listening. So don't whisper your obedience. Roar it. Declare your readiness like the earth has no choice but to respond. Say it until doubt trembles. Speak it until every hidden obstacle becomes exposed and removed. Let your voice carry authority, because here's the thing. Heaven listens. Hell panics. The earth responds. There is a divine formula hidden in plain sight. Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened. The key isn't just in asking, but in the confidence of your voice. You can't beg your way into destiny. You have to command your atmosphere. This is why demons flee when some speak and laugh when others do. It's not the volume of the voice, it's the authority behind it. Obedience isn't about being controlled, it's about being aligned. When you say, "I will obey," you're aligning yourself with a divine blueprint far greater than your human plans. You're giving heaven legal access to intervene in your life. You're stepping into a contract with purpose. And purpose is what turns ordinary days into divine appointments. So don't just coast through the rest of this month, chosen ones. Don't mark time. Make time bow to your authority. Walk into each day like you've already been sent. Speak your destiny like it's already unfolding. When you wake up, declare it. I am called, I am chosen, I am ready. The world will try to make you forget who you are. Your words will remind it. The month will end, yes, but how it ends is not merely a matter of time passing. It's a matter of how you yourself in time. For the chosen ones, this isn't just another calendar flip. It's a divine window, a spiritual portal, a moment soaked in possibility that will not reopen. You stand at a threshold, not just of days, but of destiny. Creation is not passive. According to Romans 8:19, all creation waits with eager longing for the children of God to be revealed. This means your voice carries creative power. Your words are not noise, they are blueprints. Speak life, declare progress, prophesy your own growth. This month is not just ending, it's responding, and heaven is waiting on your command. But activation requires alignment. That's why spiritual clarity is vital. Reflect on what's been weighing you down, release what no longer serves you, and with holy urgency. Armor up with the word. Forgive so nothing blocks your flow. Sow seeds spiritually, mentally, emotionally, because your harvest hinges on your obedience, not just your desire. And most importantly, your destiny isn't a question mark floating in the unknown. It's a period, a divine certainty, but whether it is fulfilled or remains dormant depends on your choices now. Don't let fear, laziness, or indecision rob you of your rightful inheritance. Every delay comes with a cost. Your purpose cannot afford your hesitation. Ephesians 5:16 urges us to redeem the time because the days are evil. So stay awake, stay aligned, stay anointed. Don't sleep through the divine moment disguised as an ordinary day. You're not just part of the world, you're the one heaven has been waiting on to shift it. You carry answers, power, healing, and light. Let your obedience echo through eternity. Until next time, walk boldly, love deeply, and obey quickly. Peace and power, chosen ones.